Previously, when we were working with equations that involved fractions, we were working with equations where we had numbers as our denominators. But that is not always the case. Sometimes it's also variables or a combination of variables and numbers. But whenever you have a variable as a denominator, you have to be careful because there's one thing we can never divide by because it is undefined, and that of course is 0. So if you look at your denominators, you have an x there and you have an x there. So obviously that cannot be 0, and we call that a restriction. Okay, so we always write a restriction because at the end of the sum, you have to go check your answer. And well, in some cases, you even get a mark for showing what your restrictions are. So we always write our restrictions, please. Then the next part is we now need to get both sides of our equation to have one denominator so that we can multiply with the LCD and then, or drop the denominator is another way of seeing it, and then we can solve this like a linear equation, or it might become quadratic. We'll see in a moment. So 3 is the same as 3 over 1. Now this is the only term that doesn't have x as a denominator, so you have to change it. And of course we do that by multiplying with x at the bottom and at the top. Okay? You want x to be the denominator straight through, but you can't just add an x to the denominator. What you multiply at the bottom, you have to multiply at the top. The numerator and denominator both get multiplied with x. That's very important. Then we have 3x, remember, because it's 3 times x, plus 10. And then while we're at it, we can multiply this 2 with each term inside of the bracket. So it's 2x plus 10. Now we see x is the denominator on this side and on that side. Because the denominators are equal, the numerators have to be equal. So we have 3x plus 10 is equal to 2x plus 10. Something you might notice here is you have a plus 10 on each side. We have exactly the same number thing or term on each side, and they have exactly the same sign. So when you take them to the same side, of course this is going to become 0. We can test that. So if we take this 10 over by minusing 10, we'll have 10 minus 10. 10 minus 10 is both sides 0. And then if we want to take this 2x that side, we minus 2x. So we have 3x minus 2x is equal to 10 minus 10. This is a different way you could have written what we just did here in color. So therefore we have x is equal to 0. And then you're like, okay, I'm done. But there was something we said in the beginning. Because we are working with fractions, we have to test our answer. We have to go check. Or we're not making something undefined somewhere. And then when you go check your restrictions that you wrote out earlier for yourself, you see, it's not possible. So you just put a line through, or you say NA, or you say no solution.